Hi everybody, this is going to be a quick review for the Biology 150 final exam, specifically covering the lymphatic system, immune system, respiratory system, first chapter, the urinary system in the second chapter, and digestive system, third. So with that in mind, let's dive on into this thing and see where all it takes us. First comment. If I were you, I'd know a little bit about the lymphatic system. What organs are involved in the lymphatic system? Like what is red marrow? What are lymph nodes? What are tonsils? Just give me a little bit of information about it. Tell me about how it functions in terms of picking up excess body fluid and returning it back to your cardiovascular system. Tell me about how your intestines have lymphatic tissues that absorb fats from the foods that you consume. Just give me a good walk through the lymphatic system and kind of what it's for. In terms of the immune system, if I were you, I would have a good grasp of T cells versus B cells. Like what is specific immunity? What is non-specific immunity? In terms of non-specific immunity, just be able to tell me about like surface barriers, like your skin, like what having natural flora is good for. Just give me a rundown of non-specific immunity. And then in terms of specific immunity, walk me through T cells and B cells. Tell me where they come from and where they are sort of trained up, if you will. Tell me about where antibodies come from. What are plasma cells? What are antigens? What are antibodies? What is innate immunity? What is active immunity? Tell me what makes a pathogen a pathogen in terms of like organ transplantation of things. Tell me about major histocompatibility complexes, MHCs. And last but not least, tell me about allergies a little bit and how we can overreact to allergens in essence. Tell me about what histamine does for us that's good and how it can potentially be a problem. Just sort of run me through the basic concepts of immunity. In terms of, let's see where I'm at, respiration. So tell me about the general functions of your respiratory system and the parts therein, the path of air through your respiratory system in essence. So take me from your nasal cavity where you're going to clean air up and make it warmer and more humid, all the way down your tracheal passages where you've got those goblet cells and their cilia, down into your alveoli where you have that really close proximity to the blood, to the cardiovascular system, so that you can diffuse oxygen into the blood and move carbon dioxide out of the blood. Just give me a good grasp, if you will, of internal versus external respiration. Yeah, I think that'll do. And probably I will speak on some respiratory volumes. So like what's tidal volume? What's an inspiratory reserve volume? Just be able to run me through basic concepts of how this kind of plays out. And tell me if someone's a smoker, how this would change the numbers there, or if someone was an athlete, how that might change the numbers there. Worthy of our consideration. All right, let's talk a little bit about the urinary system. If I were you, I would be good friends with the urinary system on this exam. All right? What is a nephron? Tell me about the proximal convoluted tubule, the loop of Henle, the distal convoluted tubule, how urine would run into a collecting duct where it would be concentrated before leaving via a papillary duct on the ends of, what do they call them, the renal pyramids, terminating in a minor calyx, terminating into a major calyx, terminating into the renal pelvis. Take me from the renal pelvis down a ureter. Tell me what the ureter is like. Tell me about what the linings of the ureter look like. Tell me about how it's muscular. What are the layers, if you will, of that ureter? Tell me about how the ureter is capable of peristaltic motion and why that matters to us. And I probably mentioned kidney stones somewhere in there. Just have a grasp of how all this fits together. Tell me about how two ureters enter into the bladder, and then there's one exit from the bladder at the urethra. So what's the bladder for in terms of storage? Tell me about how the sphincter network, an internal urethral sphincter and an external urethral sphincter, what type of muscle they're made of, how they are innervated, how they behave. Tell me about how this controls urination in terms of the urethra. All right. In the kidneys, walk me through how basic filtration works. So what's glomerular filtration? What comes out of the blood during glomerular filtration? Tell me about tubular reabsorption. Tell me about tubular secretion. What's moving where? Just basic concepts of how these fit together. Like even grand scheme questions like what is metabolic waste? Like all of this is totally feasible. Where in the bladder is a salty environment important? Yeah. Yeah, that'll all do just fine. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I believe I skipped over this. I'll mention it now. I will definitely be asking you about some respiratory illnesses. Respiratory illnesses are a big deal for us, so be able to tell me about some of those. Like, what's tuberculosis? What is pneumonia? What do they look like? How do we diagnose them? Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, what else do I have for you here? So glomerular filtrate, what is it? What is it not? Tell me about how blood pressure at the glomerulus is important. Tell me about tubular reabsorption, tubular secretion. Tell me about how we would release certain chemicals via tubular secretion into the urine and what chemicals those might be. Tell me about how we have transport maxima in the kidneys and how diabetes is a problem because it increases the amount of solute found in urine, which changes urine's dilution factor, if you will. Yeah, that'll do. All right, last but not least, digestive system. Tell me all about the digestive system. How many layers of smooth muscle do you tend to see in the digestive system? And the answer is pretty much everywhere there's 2 layers, circular and longitudinal. But then in the stomach there's 3 layers. There's an added oblique layer. So just have a grasp of the layering of musculature in the digestive tract and how that leads to what we call peristalsis or peristaltic motion. Walk me through the digestive tract. So from the mouth, where we do sort of mechanical and chemical digestion using certain enzymes, down into the stomach, where there's more digestion taking place, and then down into the small intestine. Tell me about the ileum, duodenum, the jejunum. Tell me about where absorption takes place and what we're absorbing there. And then walk me into the large intestine. Why is it called the large intestine? And tell me about how it absorbs water. Okay, main concept there is absorbing water. So just have a grasp of all this, how all this fits together. Let's see, what else do I want to say here? So tell me about cavities. Tell me about what chyme is. What is a bolus? Tell me about what makes the large intestine large and the small intestine small. And again, the derivations in the small intestine. Tell me about some of the foods that we consume. So what is HDL? What is LDL? Why do I recommend that you have dosages of omega-3 fatty acids? Why do I recommend against trans fats in your diet? Just have a decent grasp of how some of this stuff fits together. And I tell you what, folks, that's probably a pretty dadgum good start for you. So make sure that you utilize your study guide in conjunction with this conversation, and that should be a real step forward in terms of getting you prepared to take your final exam. All right, have a nice day.